Kia ora, Mr Speaker. I just want to stand to say that the Māori Party will be supporting this bill to first reading.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I call Kelvin Davis.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, the Labour Party supports this bill, and it recognises the cost of providing customs and biosecurity services to new international airports. It recognises that those costs are significant and that the government is replicating services that are already present in international airports, and the cost of replicating them in a new airport, in a smaller airport, is significant. So the government is basically saying that they want to recoup their costs from the smaller international airport. So we support this bill. We recognise we must invest in services which protect our country from invasive species and foreign pests at new international airports. It does place an added burden on our investment in biosecurity and customs services, and therefore new international airports should realise some of those costs. Mr Speaker, some of the activities that are carried out in international airports, they basically revolve around processing travellers or visitors, and some of the activities carried out by the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry under the Biosecurities Act determine what goods are in the possession or control of the traveller and ascertain whether any of the goods may be cleared for entry into New Zealand under Section 26 of that Act. And some of the goods that we're talking about are animal and animal products such as live animals, pets, birds, meat products, whether they're fresh or cooked, dairy products including cheese, milk powder, eggs, fish, honey, feathers, all those sorts of things. It's really important that we have the biosecurity staff in place to check that these things aren't entering the country, because they do jeopardise our primary products, our agriculture, our horticulture industries, and we can't afford to have that happen. Another set of activities carried out at international airports by the Aviation Security Service under the Civil Aviation Act are to screen travellers and travellers' baggage and to ensure the safety and security of the civil aviation system. So basically checking that what people are taking onto planes, they're not taking on weapons and other illicit objects, and also just to ensure the safety of flights. And of course we all appreciate, those of us who travel appreciate the fact that we need to have a safe air system. And then the third set of activities carried out at international airports by customs and under the Customs and Excise Act 1996, they determine a traveller's eligibility to enter or leave New Zealand and to establish whether goods in the traveller's possession need to be charged for duty, whether they have prohibited goods or exports or otherwise. And some of those restricted items that customs check for are weapons, firearms, flick knives, objectionable articles and images, illicit drugs and drug paraphernalia, also endangered species of flora and fauna. So, Mr Speaker, we need to recognise the costs that replicating those sorts of services in new international airports, which will be smaller, the cost that will be imposed on the government, and the government is saying, and I think quite rightly so, that there should be some recouping of those costs. If you take, say, Rotorua International Airport, they can really only have a couple of flights a week into Rotorua. However, they have to replicate all the staff and the services that are provided in, say, an international airport the size of Auckland. Now, Auckland is the second busiest airport in Australasia, and so what's happening there every minute of every day would only occur for a couple of hours per week in Rotorua, and that would incur significant costs with that replication of the plant, so to speak, and the services. And as I say, it's only fair that the costs are recouped. Mr Speaker, as I've said, we support the bill and recognise that replicating those services comes at a huge cost to the Crown, and any international airport should have to realise part of those costs. We have a high number of international airports per capita. We have 7, Auckland, as I've said, is our busiest, or the second busiest in Australasia. Wellington, Christchurch, Dunedin, Rotorua, Hamilton, and there's one other that I can't recall. And there is a huge cost in making sure that when travellers come into New Zealand that everybody is screened. Now, by 2016, there's going to be 3 million visitors a year coming in, international visitors coming into New Zealand, and of course most of them leave, so that's 6 million movements through customs and through international airports. So that's a lot of people. Also, there's going to be 2.5 million New Zealanders leaving the country, and we would like to think that they all come back too. So that's another 5 million. So 11 million movements of people throughout our international airports. The majority of them will go through Auckland or Wellington or Christchurch, but there will be some going through Rotorua and Hamilton, and we need to have our biosecurity, our customs people there, our aviation security people there in those small airports. And as I say, that is a cost that the government would like to recoup. Now they're suggesting that the period of time that they will recoup those losses will be. I thought 3 years. We believe that the bill goes too far in proposing a 3-year cost recovery. The Labour government in 2004, with similar legislation, proposed a 1-year cost recovery period. So we're thinking that we should split the difference between a 3-year cost recovery period and a 1-year cost recovery period and maybe make it 2 years. However, that's something that can be discussed at select committee and nutted out to see to decide exactly what will be the best time period for the cost recovery. Mr. Speaker, I also agree with what our colleague from the Green Party said about the biosecurity staff numbers. We have this big emphasis on biosecurity, making sure that we have the staff there to protect our primary products, our agriculture and horticulture. However, the government has in the last year cut 54 staff from biosecurity. We say that those costs must be reversed. It's essential that we do have the staff and the services to protect our economy, because the agriculture and horticulture are important to our nation. So, and these are frontline positions that have been taken. They are vital to protecting us from the foreign pests. We only need to look at today's Herald to see an instance of a pest getting into New Zealand. Now, okay, it wasn't in an airport. It was a boa constrictor that came across in a container, I think, in a consignment of palm trees from Guatemala, of all places. Okay, a boa constrictor I would say, is fairly easy to actually to see in a container, but we're talking about the smaller pests and organisms that may arrive in people's luggage or baggage on the bottoms of rugby boots. I recall when I went to a rugby tour in Australia that we had to produce our rugby boots, and they had to be cleaned and sprayed. First time that they'd ever been cleaned or sprayed in about 5 years of playing rugby. But it's really important, that the boa constrictor incident is a case in point where we have to be really careful about protecting our borders from these unwanted pests, and that boa constrictor was found by biosecurity staff, and so I say that the cuts to biosecurity, they must be reversed. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I reiterate that the Labour Party supports this bill to the Select Committee. Kia ora.